My name is Liam Ainger. I was born in Chesterfield, growing up in 1997. My drug of choice was cocaine, which led me to needing the help that I've actually got here today. I grew up in a nice family home. Parents still together. I grew up with an older sister, a couple of years older than me, and life was good. At first it was a strange feeling finding where to belong. And then I was introduced to football by my dad, which really took off. It gave me a sense of belonging and knowing where to go from there. Having a place that I could be myself. Growing up, I had a few issues with my health, which was struggling, because then that knocked me back from knowing where to belong. Kind of felt indifferent. I felt different to everybody else. Things like that. I managed to get the operation, and that all comes as a success. I first started taking cocaine when I was around 17 due to some issues at home, and I almost felt a sense of I'd gone back 10 steps where I'd stopped belonging anywhere. Cocaine gave me a different perspective on things. It gave me a place to belong. There was a lot of embarrassment around myself. I was nowhere near as confident as what I had been in previous years, and cocaine gave me a chance to almost reinvent myself and give me that confidence. And at the time, it took them things away. It took all the nervousness and all that away, and it gave me a place where I could just be somebody not wanting to be who didn't want to be in their own skin. And for the first few years, it gave me that until it didn't. When I was around 20 years old, I lost a good friend through suicide, which was one of the hardest things I've really ever had to go through. It was a strange feeling because it was my first experience with suicide, and the drug taking really took off from there. I went to Bulgaria and went 10 days on an all-inclusive, doing cocaine, staying up numerous nights, and it was because I didn't want to feel that grief. Any feeling that I ever felt when I was off cocaine, it gave me a chance to take that pain away, and it was a thing that did numb my pain. So even when I came back from Bulgaria, I wasn't ready to admit I'd got a problem. I just justified this by saying I was on a holiday, when really I was in a very deep mess. I wouldn't admit it. I was in a lot of denial, which was no good for myself. Things started going bad at home. Excuse me. And things got rocky at home. Like I say, I grew up in a very good family. It was all good. And I started breaking them relationships because I got myself into doing things that I don't do myself. If I'm a sober person, these are things that I don't do, and this is the power almost that cocaine did have over me. It got me lying to my family, people who have. It's a belief that I've always had, the love for my family. All of that went out the window whenever I was using. This was at the time where it really started to become a problem. You know, I was stealing from family. I was manipulating family. It was a hard thing to go to be putting everybody through, but most importantly, it was a hard thing to be putting myself through. Fast forward through years, a few years, I got into. I was always looking for an external factor, even when I wasn't taking cocaine, because I couldn't. I was never ready to love myself. I had a lot of resentment towards myself almost. So I started looking for external factors in relationships, things like that. My drug taking, it was taking off. It was going to around 23, 24. I mean, I'm 28 now. Around 23, 24 years old, it was almost an every other day thing. It was at work, it was at home, it was if I was going to play football. It was everything, any chance I could get to take cocaine, I would. If I didn't have the money, I'd do things that, like I say again, I wouldn't normally do in myself to get that money. And when I was around 23, 24, it was getting to a point where it was every other day, and it was, if I didn't get that high that I was looking for, it really ate away at me. And then when I was around just coming towards the end of 24, I got into a relationship because I thought, well, this cocaine, it was almost stopping working for me. Even though I went on to carry on doing it for another 4 years, it stopped working. So I was looking for something else to fix that void, and I looked for that in a relationship. I moved in after a month. I got engaged after 4, and all of this, I managed to come off the cocaine because it was detrimental to my relationship and it was detrimental to myself. But I was still drinking, and it was always inevitable. I think it's one thing you can never be confused with, that alcohol is a drug. And I was still drinking, and it got to a point where it was inevitable that I'd end up back on that cocaine. And I had a wedding booked because I thought I'd seen other people get engaged, things like this, people who hadn't got the problems that I'd got. And I'd seen it work for them, so I almost started to begin to think, well, that must be the answer. It's not going away and actually looking into myself. That must be the answer for me to stop taking drugs, stop taking cocaine. That must be the answer to get into a relationship. It ended up being a very, very non-sustainable thing, because we'd have arguments, and I was still, because I'd not looked into myself, there was still always that chance that I got jealous at all traits of an addict. So then we ended up we cancelled the wedding after around 10 months, and that was when I moved back home to my family. That was in the September 2022. In November 2022, because I'd gone back to the using, and I was that much full of guilt and shame almost, and depressed. I tried to take my own life. I was put into a three day induced coma, and it was very scary. And it was lucky that I'd come home from one of my friends, and I'd decided that enough was enough. I couldn't see any other way out. And I actually tried to take an overdose and take my own life. I came back around about 3 days later, and there was a massive relief to be alive. Huge relief to be alive. But then I still couldn't stop taking cocaine. I think I was a very poorly lad for about another 2 weeks, and then as soon as the sore throat had gone from the oxygen tube, I was straight back onto the drugs, because that was all I knew. Because on top of that guilt and shame that I got from the breakup of the relationship and everything, I now had the guilt and shame on top of that. I tried to take my own life and took myself away from my family, and that was made it 10 times worse. It was an everyday thing. I was getting into tons of debt. Having my family to bail me out, having people coming to my mum and dad's door, and I couldn't, because of my addiction, I couldn't see anything wrong with that. I just thought, and then I almost started to accept that I was an addict, but instead of actually looking at that and making changes, I gave that fact, if you like, almost an excuse to use more, and I carried on. Fast forward 3 years, my rock bottom, my mum and dad went away for a weekend, and I actually stole a load of money, and then I knew they was coming back on a Sunday, and I'd gone away to another city until the following Wednesday, not knowing where I was. And yes, there was the there was this the disappointment and everything of me taking what I had, but I think the most thing that did it to them was I was missing for another 3 days before they actually had any contact with me. My phone was off because there was so much guilt and shame. And then when I came back on the Wednesday, I decided enough was enough. This was in August this year, just gone. I decided enough was enough. I was doing myself so much harm. What I thought was a best friend in cocaine at first, it became fastly my biggest enemy. It's an absolute serial killer thrown out there. And that was when I came back to mum and dad's, and I said to them, I said, look, this is basically it. I said I cannot go on like this anymore. Luckily, my auntie had a good friend. I had a friend who goes to Slimming World, who's got a contact at New Hope. He came down and took his time out of his own day after his own job to come down and sit with me and my aunties, and everything that he told me that day was what I wanted to hear. And he put me in touch with someone from New Hope. I rang every single day. I was very, very willing to get into this place because I know how lucky I am to be in this place. The things like this, I came in on the 25th of September, and it's like the first thing that the manager said to me at this place was I was still cut up about the attempt on my own life, and the first thing the manager said to me was I am a survivor, and that is something that has stuck with me from the very first day that I came in here, and I cannot thank this place enough. It gives me a chance to rebuild myself. What this place has done for not only myself but my family, because it's a chance of said it to someone the other week. It was a chance to give my mum and dad a son back. It's a chance to give my sister a brother back. It's a chance to give my niece and nephew an uncle back. It's absolutely changed my life for the better. I'm now 111 days clean, and without this place, none of that becomes possible. But it's weird, but this is something that will live on with you for the rest of your life. And I cannot thank this place enough. For anyone who's thinking about who's thinking about picking the phone up and getting the help, do it. And all I can encourage is that do it, because there's the amount of pride and ego that stopped me from coming in here sooner. There's part of me that wish I'd have dropped that pride, dropped that ego, because this is the best chance of turning your life around and giving yourself something to live for. I was a person that was just existing, and now today I am a person that's living.